Thank you, Ruben, for that wonderful introduction. And thank you to the ZOA for this prestigious award. I'm a little bit excited. First and foremost, I want to thank the namesakes of this award, Dr. Miriam and Sheldon Adelson, two extraordinary defenders of Israel. They deserve a round of applause. Miriam and dear Sheldon of blessed memory have and continue to be true giants. Their dedication to Israel has inspired generations. To receive a Okay, let's not give them attention that they do not deserve. Yeah, thank you. To receive an award bearing their names is more than an honor. It's a sacred responsibility to strengthen and continue their mission. I also express my deepest gratitude to my fellow honorees, Gary Schottenstein, Brigadier General Amir Avivi, Shabbos Kestenbaum, and my dear friend Ambassador Friedman. Each one of you, in your own ways and actions, has and continues to strengthen the Jewish people and our homeland. And finally, I want to thank my dear, dear friend Mort Klein, President of the ZOA, whom I know for, I think, almost 3 decades. Mort, your unwavering commitment to Israel and Zionism is truly remarkable. Under your leadership, the ZOA has become a beacon of truth and a staunch defender of Israel. You are not only a trusted ally and friend, but also an inspiration to us all. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. Now let's get to work. Friends, in this dark year, an unexpected ray of light emerged. A generation of lions rose in Israel, defending our homeland with unbreakable resolve. Yeah, they deserve it. And you know, their courage has made one thing clear. Our enemies can never defeat us on the conventional battlefield. They don't have a chance. Never. Oh, you're still here. Yeah. For sure. Palestine never existed, by the way. So, they don't have a chance to defeat our military. So, what is our enemy's strategy? How do they think they can annihilate us when our military can overpower them? Following the heinous October 7th massacre, they knew we would retaliate with unprecedented force. So again, I ask, what secret weapon did they count on to ensure their survival? This weapon is not only guns, not only rockets, but the United Nations, the House of Lies. Our enemies, they knew that while the IDF can crush them militarily, the UN would rush to tie our hands, to falsely brand us as human rights abusers, all to stop and prevent our victory. The UN is not just biased. It is today a weapon in the terrorist arsenal to help them survive. What would the UN's founders say if they saw their creation today? An institution born to prevent genocide has been hijacked by those who plot it. Roosevelt is turning in his grave. Listen to this. Today, out of the UN's 193 members, 56, nearly one-third are Muslim countries. And they obviously support the Palestinians at the UN in every war against the Jewish state, even if we are fighting a terror organization. They're afraid of having internal uprisings, so they align themselves with the radical entity. What's even more disturbing is that over half, internalize it, over half of the UN today are not even democracies. And when the UN is comprised of mostly non-democracies, what happens? Moral distortions. Right now, dear friends, Cuba, Sudan, Somalia, and Eritrea, great human rights defenders, are on the Human Rights Council. You can't make this up. And for all of you who care about women's rights, I have a comforting message. Saudi Arabia was chosen recently to chair the UN's Commission on the Status of Women. And when it comes to Israel, the UN's distorted makeup paves the way for unbelievable bias and injustice. It's mind-boggling, but currently, the President of the International Court of Justice, ICJ, the very court on a witch hunt to accuse Israel of genocide, where is he from? Lebanon. Yeah, that's right. A judge from a country at war with Israel now sits in judgment over us. What an absurdity. So Israel, a country that represents only 0.1% of the world's population, we are less than 10 million people, we receive, you know how many condemnations every year at the UN? 70% of the UN's condemnation, which means that we get more condemnations than Russia, Syria, North Korea, and Iran combined. And friends, since October 7th, we have all witnessed a new law, even for the UN. Over 400 days have passed with our hostages in captivity, yet the Security Council hasn't held even one single meeting to advance their release. And not a single UN body has even condemned Hamas. Disgusting. The conclusion, friends, is that today the UN has become a stain on humanity. But this stain, but let me give you another fact. This stain, you know how much it costs? $75 billion per year. And you know who is paying for this? You, the US. You are still the biggest funders of the UN, almost $20 billion every year. You are literally financing an institution run by dictators and jihadists. Friends, the UN must be defunded. Defunded. I am hopeful that the Trump administration will get this done. President Trump understands what a scam looks like. Remember UNRWA? That UN agencies breeding terror? Well, President Trump saw right through them. He cut off their funding, just like that. $0 for terror, $0 for anti-Semitism. Now it's time to do the same to the entire UN. Every American tax dollar sent to the UN today is a dollar funding our shared enemies. The time has come to defund the UN completely. And together, we can end this madness. But as long as the UN spews lies, we will never stay silent. We must fight back and expose the falsehoods. And this is precisely, dear friends, what I did. When I stood at the UN podium, I knew that I represent the most moral country in the world, the most moral military in the world. That's why I always fight with my head held high, always on the offensive, never apologetic. They may have called me ambassador, but I wasn't there to play nice. Truth was my weapon, and I wielded it unapologetically. Because in the face of lies, dear friends, there is no room for diplomatic niceties. When the Secretary General, I remind you some of the things I did, when the Secretary General claimed that the October 7th massacre, and I quote him, did not happen in a vacuum, I immediately called for his resignation. Shame on him. Yeah. And when Iran's former president, Raisi, took the UN stage, I didn't sit quietly. I protested against him in the General Assembly, holding high the image of Mahsa Amini, murdered by his regime. And what did the UN do? They detained me while giving a platform to a mass murderer. Good thing God had the last laugh with the Ark terrorists, as you remember. His helicopter, yeah. When the Security Council refused to condemn Hamas's massacre, I wore a yellow star right there in that chamber. Let them face the shame of their silence. And when Russia scheduled an anti-Israel propaganda show on Yom HaZikaron, our sacred Memorial Day, I showed them exactly what Israeli pride looks like. Right there in the Security Council, I lit a memorial candle for our fallen soldiers, and I walked out of their circus. Because, friends, I don't care who you are, the president of Iran or the Russian foreign minister. When you desecrate the memory of our heroes, you will face the truth. To conclude, friends, after 4 years of fighting lies at the UN, I chose to continue my battle in a different way. While I fought to defend Israel's name on the global stage, there are those who fight to defend Israeli lives on the ground. That's why I now lead Magen David Adom. Magen David Adom, MADA, as we call them in Hebrew, is not a regular emergency service. It is the national emergency service of Israel and the backbone of Israel's resilience. Just as the IDF guards our borders, MADA protects the lives within them. This is why I'm proud to stand with these brave men and women, these warriors in white. Brothers and sisters, for 4 years, I stood almost entirely alone at the UN. But I always remembered the words of the Rebbe, the Lubavitcher Rebbe. A little light dispels much darkness. Always remember it. And there was another fact that deeply empowered me every day, as I entered the General Assembly and I looked around the room. I remembered that the ambassadors of the Babylonian and Roman empires were nowhere to be found. Nor were the delegations of the Moabites or the Amorites. You know what? The flag of Amalek was not wavering outside the UN. But do you know which flag is? Yeah, the Star of David, the flag of the Jewish people living in our eternal homeland. Because empires have crumbled and disappeared, but we continue, thank God, to grow stronger. So as long as we stand united, our enemies will falter and we will flourish. Israel and the Jewish people will not only survive, but thrive. God willing, we will obliterate Hamas. God willing, we will bring the hostages home. And above all, we will prevail. Am Yisrael Chai, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you.
Thanks for watching. Drop a comment below. Don't forget to like, share, and hit subscribe to stay updated with our latest content. Until next time, stay informed and inspired. This is Dejobnik signing off.